This dessert is inspired by the Margarita Cheesecake on Mejico's menu in Pitt Street, Sydney. I went there a few years ago and I'm allergic to coconut. So they made me an alternative without coconut, and it was this little crispy base with just like a dollop of cheesecake mousse, I guess, on top, and a little sprinkling of sea salt. And it was the most delicious dessert that I've had at a restaurant. I was obsessed. I mean, I love margaritas, I love Mexican food, and I love cheesecake. I'm going to try and emulate that today, or a style of it. And I'm thinking I will make Tuile Biscuits for the base. And I saw a really cool video by Jules Cooking where he dehydrates the zest of citrus and then blends it up into a powder and sits it onto his chill, so that when the chill comes out, it's got the like a very fine zest already on it, cooked into it. And I think that that will just elevate the flavor of my cheesecake and emphasize the orange in the triple sec in a margarita. So to start off with, I think I need a margarita so that I can check I've got my flavors right. I am cheating because lime is very expensive at the moment. Cheers. These are going to be alcohol free, so I'm hoping to get the flavor just with a bit of orange zest, lime zest, and lime juice, and then a little sprinkle of sea salt on top. However, if I'm trying it, I'm probably going to mix a bit of tequila into a small portion and try that and see how that tastes. But I figure this way everybody can enjoy them, whether they like tequila or not, and whether they drink or not. So the first thing I'm going to do is zest my orange so that I can zest as much as I want for my cheesecake. And then I'm going to peel the rest of the skin off, or the zest, but with a peeler, and stick that in the oven, which is on 60 degrees Celsius, and just see how long it takes, see if I can dry it out a bit. It might take like an hour, it might take a couple hours. I'm just going to keep checking it every 15 minutes and we'll see how we go. I think this is called a mandolin. No, microplane. Anyway, it's a style of grater that is really good for zesting things. But be really careful of your fingers because that will just zest your skin off if you're not careful. Smells really good. So that's the zest of a whole orange. I think that'll be enough because it's not an orange flavored drink. I mean, I just want it to emulate the triple sec. And I think the zest is the right choice rather than orange juice for that, because it has that fermented almost flavor. But we'll see. I'm going to try peeling this now and sticking it in the oven. And I don't know that it's going to make enough powder or if that'll even taste nice, but we'll find out, I guess. I think I'm going to put it on a rack in the oven. So I've just got it on a roasting tray just so the air can get underneath it. Maybe it'll dry faster. I don't know. I haven't really dried anything but sage before in the oven. All right, I'm going to put this in the oven now, and I will track at the time, and I'll let you know how long it takes. I'm going to zest up some limes next. Now, if you don't cook often, when you're zesting fruit, you just want to zest the coloured part. You don't want to zest into like the white underneath, because that's really bitter. As you're zesting this, you should see the nice bright green colour coming off. If you can see white on here, then just check your lime and make sure that you're moving it around as soon as you've taken the color off. Like if there's a little bit of color there, that's fine. That part would be good, but that part we don't want to zest anymore. Zest is full of a lot of oil. So if you use lime oil or lime incense, it's often from the zest. And so it's really flavoursome and it adds a nice tart, concentrated flavour. So that's how much zest I got from 2 limes. It's a bit less than the orange, but very strong flavour. I've got more limes and I'm going to juice these now and use the juice in the cheesecake as well. If we need more zest, I'll just zest some more later. But if you roll the citrus first, it makes it easier to juice. Okay, so when I'm making a no-bake cheesecake, I like to do a 6 to 3 to 1 ratio, 6 parts cream cheese to 3 parts cream to 1 part sugar. So I'm going to use icing sugar, got thickened cream, and we're going to just start with the mascarpone. I'm going to put this whole tub in. This is 250 grams. And once I've made it with just this, I'll taste it. And then if I do want to add more cream cheese, that just goes into the cream cheese ratio. So if I add another 250 grams of this, then I need to add another 125 of this. And I'm going to eyeball, but I'll put proper amounts down below. Also, yes, I am going to use the same instrument to touch everything and cross-contaminate, but it's all going in the same dish. And the entirety of this is, it's not like I'm going to then get lime zest on part of my mascarpone or mascarpone on part of my orange zest, you know? $125 grams of cream. I'm just going to weigh this. I think grams and mils is pretty similar. Usually I'm not this accurate, but usually it's just me eating it and no one else making it. Ooh. Okay, so I did the maths for you. It's 41.6 of icing sugar, so 42 grams. Normally, I don't bother to sift it because I am lazy, but this is really lumpy. All right, I'm going to add a little dash of vanilla extract. And then I'm just going to mix this up and I want to taste it first and then I'll start adding my zest and my juice. Now I don't want to over whip it because it does have thickened cream in it, and if you over whip cream it turns into butter. It's not going anywhere. It's whipped enough. Oh, that is silky. All right. It's very silky. It's very luxurious. It's very yummy. It needs some zing. I'm going to start adding a bit of lime zest, a little dash of lime juice. And a tiny, I'm going to say it's like, at this point, a teaspoon of lime zest, half a teaspoon of orange zest, and a tablespoon of lime juice. good. I'm going to add the same again. And then I think I'm just going to fold this in because I don't want to over whip my cheesecake. It looks like funfetti mix because of the lime and orange zest. Yep. I think that's pretty spot on. Okay. Well, that was easy. I'm going to put that into a piping bag so that I can wipe it out onto my biscuits later. So what we went with in the end, that was 250 grams of mascarpone cheese, 125 grams of thickened cream, 42 grams of icing sugar, 2 teaspoons of lime zest, 1 teaspoon of orange zest, 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And I really think it does taste like a margarita. And it's creamy, it's soft, it's delicious, it's not too sweet. Now we just have to wait for our orange zest, and then I'll make the biscuit. You could just eat this as is, put it in a bowl, serve it however you like. I'm putting mine in a piping bag because I am going to pipe it onto my little individual biscuits. And I need a fair bit because I think there's 10 guests there. Look at it, it's so pretty. It looks like it's got sprinkles in it. I'm going to put this in the fridge until I'm ready to serve it. All right, so it's been an hour since I put the orange zest in the oven. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm a little nervous if it's not quite dry enough and I try and blend it up, that it'll turn into like a paste rather than a powder. But some of the pieces look really crispy. So let's have a look. Maybe I'll cut off the crispy bits, put the other bits back in. See, the edges literally snap off. You can hear the crack. Then these middle bits, well, it all feels pretty dry. It's just where it's got a little more of the white, but I'm going to give it a go. We'll see what happens. I guess I can always, if it does turn into a paste, I can always put it back in low heat oven on some baking paper and try and dry the powder out that way. This is all, part of learning, part of the experiment when you're trying a new recipe. It's not super thin, but it's worked very well. I know that's definitely not in directions for use to shake it, but it's not super crazy thin. His looks like dust, but it's worked. I'll see how moist it is. I might pop it back in the oven now, just for 10 minutes, and then we'll try and blend it again. It smells incredible. In the meantime, I'm going to try and make a stencil for my Tuile biscuits. I want them to be little squares, and then once they're cooked, I'll turn them upside down over something like a muffin tin or something similar to give them a bit of a rounded look. To get the squares, I could just do a really thin, spread it really thin on my silicone mat, and then when it comes out and it's still hot, cut it into squares. But I'm going to try and cut a little thing with windows that I can put down, and then when I spread it, I'll be able to lift this up, and it should leave just nice squares behind. Let's see how this goes. So I've got 3 horizontal panels. I'm going to cut out my inner squares now. Like that. But I'm going to cut the rest of them out, and then I should check the powder actually. Should take that out the oven. This smells so good. Maybe I'll wait for that to cool down before I glitz it. You can see this like perspiration. There are some chunky bits, but there's some real powdery bits too that I think will sift well. See that? It's beautiful. Honestly, it doesn't taste like very much at all, but it is super fragrant. So I've got my stencil ready. I just turned the oven up to 160 degrees, and to make a tuile is actually really simple. So I'm going to put 60 grams of egg whites, 10 grams of butter, 50 grams of sugar, 50 grams of flour, a pinch of salt, and 40 grams of oil. I'm probably just going to use canola oil, but you want a pretty neutrally flavored oil rather than like a heavy olive oil. And then you just blend it, and it'll turn it into a nice smooth thin batter. And then I'm going to put this stencil on a silicone mat, and using my palette knife, you just want to spread it really, really thin. And then I am going to pull that up, hopefully be left with 12 nice squares, and cook them for 10 minutes. The egg whites, they are 58 grams, close enough. I'm just going to put that back to 0 and add the rest. Avocado oil, not canola. The roasting tray upside down because it has the largest, flattest surface. Silicone mat on top of it. Nice. And then my stencil on top of that. I thought about kind of spraying it with an oil or, you know, putting a little bit of the batter underneath it. But I'm just going to try and spread it and we'll see. It might be a disaster. Okay, I probably should have rubbed a bit of oil or butter to make my makeshift stencil actually fit. But it's okay. I'll gather some of that. Yay! It essentially worked. I think I'm gonna use that again. The next lot. Look, there's a few bits, but it pretty well worked. This now cooks for 10 minutes at 160 degrees. My oven's ready to go. Fingers crossed. When chilled, it's still warm. It's very flexible. And then as it cools down, it'll harden. So I can either try putting the squares over into these muffin tins, but they're a bit big. I wish they were mini ones. But then I also have this silicone mold, sphere mold that are little. They might be too shallow, but we'll try both. I'll just put one in and see how we go. Gotta just work quickly while they're still hot. Third option, I do have an egg carton that's mostly empty. I could try and put them in here if these don't work. I'm just going to keep it ready in case. Okay. They're not real golden. All right, so you do really need to like lift them off. Too slow. Too slow, see? It's already cracked. They're probably all too slow. Maybe I'm just too slow because I'm carrying them. No, they're all cracking. So they all cracked. Maybe if I made them a little bit thicker, because like that is paper thin. Yum. You do get the tiniest like bit of fragrance from the orange. If I make them a bit thicker, maybe we'll have another go. Before I do that, I better taste test it. One salt flake on top. Yeah, I'm just get so fragile. That's essentially. Mm, yum. Mm, especially the salt at the end. Mm-mm. Very happy with that. It's still thin, but now it's probably like 2 millimeters thick. Okay, they are not as golden. Little bit risky maybe, but this pan fits perfectly in it. So I'll try that. Let's see. Okay. They've been in for about 2 minutes. I just poked one. They're very pliable. Fingers crossed. Some of them have just sunken in as well. That's me. Did it do anything? Just gravity. Look. It has worked. Better. They're less burnt. I didn't realize I burnt the last ones, but looking at the color of these and tasting that. I wish these biscuits had like a little more color on them, but it's, you know, maybe I got to use a different biscuit next time. And then I'm just going to put a few little bits of salt on there. And maybe I should make some little garnishes. Since I've got more limes, I could cut a nice thin slice and do a really thin zest coil. So I cut my zest into really thin little strips. I am going to try spinning it around this straw. That's my Margarita Cheesecake. Let's taste it. And that lime zest garnish was not too strong. And the salt hits just at the back of your mouth, which is perfect. If you give this a go, please let me know what you think.